Welcome back to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper, and now the world lead. An American pastor saying he's endured 6 months of beatings in an Iranian prison. His wife pleading with the U.S. to do something before he dies in there. She'll join us with her message. Also, the sports lead. Quick, somebody throw a challenge flag. The NFL is reportedly downplaying a link between hard hits and a brain disease discovered in dozens of former players. And then, of course, the pop lead. Game on. Boy, would this be one heck of a themed dinner party on Sunday night. Game of Thrones comes back for season 3, and I sit down with one of the guys behind the adventure. But first, our world lead, a man in prison who may feel as if he's forgotten, but he has not been forgotten by his friends and family. But hopefully he's also not been forgotten by his government. Pastor Saeed Abedini, an Iranian-born man who is a U.S. citizen, has been sitting in an Iranian prison since September. And his crime? His faith. Saeed Abedini is a man who was transformed by his Christian faith and imprisoned for it. Now the U.S. government is calling on Iran to release him immediately.
Not long after I became a believer, that one night a voice woke me up and said, "Saeed, I am coming back soon. Go preach my gospel."
Abedini had been living for years in Boise, Idaho with his wife and children, working as a pastor. But before he came to America, he had run a series of underground churches in Iran, to the objections of the government there. He went back to Iran, he says, to work on an orphanage, only to find himself arrested last summer by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Abedini was convicted for preaching Christianity and sentenced to 8 years in prison. In a letter to his wife, he said he had been beaten. Now his plight has gone viral, with online petitions calling for his release, and his wife, Nagma, has become his voice.
While Saeed does not have a voice to sing to his children, we each have a voice for his freedom.
Joining me now from Idaho is Nagma Abedini, the wife of Pastor Saeed Abedini. They're being represented by the American Center for Law and Justice, and its executive director, Jordan Sekulow, joins me here in Washington. Both of you, thank you for being here. Nagma, your husband's been in this Iranian prison now for 6 months. He's serving an 8-year sentence. How did this happen?
Well, he's been back 10 times since 2009. It's working on an orphanage that was government approved, and he was working with the government officials on it. And this time around, they decided to arrest him. It was quite a bit of a surprise for us that they did arrest him, but they've been cracking down on Christianity more with the Revolutionary Guard getting involved in the last few months.
And what specifically have they charged him with?
Yeah, Christian gatherings, and they're saying that it is a threat to the national security.
When was the last time you saw him or spoke to him?
Last time I saw him, I dropped him off at the airport in June 22nd, and he was supposed to be back by end of July. And last time I spoke to him, I had a few, since his arrest, there was a few phone calls they allowed him to make from the prison. Last time was the last time I was allowed by the government to speak to him was January 9th. It was only a few minutes, and he was mainly talking to the kids and telling him how much he loved them and how much he was proud of them. So it was January 9th.
And how are your children doing?
They're struggling. They are. It's the reality of our life. It's everyday reality that we're faced to. It's over 180 days that he's been gone, and actually he's been in prison, but even more than that he's been gone. In June it will be a year, and they miss him terribly. They cry, they ask for him, and they're struggling every day.
Jordan, where are you in terms of working to get him freed?
Sure. Well, we hit a major milestone last week when we got Secretary of State John Kerry to issue a statement directly calling for Saeed's release. That was followed by, just the day before that, the ambassador to the UN Human Rights Council from the United States also called for Saeed to be released. The first two really high-level officials, people that weren't just responding to questions for the administration, who put these statements on the record, which was very important for the world to know and for Iran.
And Nagma, he's been writing you letters. I want to read one that you received just a few days ago. Maybe you ask, what is the secret of being so happy in such a hard situation? Forgiveness and a change of attitude. When we forgive, we become free and we become messengers of peace and reconciliation and goodness. He also talks about not receiving medical treatment for the internal bleeding that he's suffered from beatings. Are you concerned that he will not survive his prison sentence?
Yes, very much. Every day is a battle, a survival battle, and that's why we've been fighting to get him out as soon as possible. He's already been there long enough. Over 180 days he's been in that prison, so over 6 months. And every day counts, every day that we're able to get the word out and speak out for Saeed and get him back to the U.S. and to our family.
You testified at a congressional hearing not long ago, and no one from the State Department came. Has the State Department been dragging its heels?
Well, since that hearing, I've noticed more action. They've promised to do more, even though I'm still not sure exactly what's being done with the diplomatic efforts. But they did promise that they would do more. And it was really great news for Secretary Kerry to speak out on. His statement was very strong, and it was very encouraging to get that statement from him. And whatever we're able to do, I'm not sure our scope of what our government can do or through other governments, but I'm hoping that every action is being taken to get Saeed out of that prison before he loses his life there.
Saeed Abedini, Jordan Sekulow, thank you so much for sharing your story. We wish you the best of luck in your case.